Today's strange, obscure story may be the least obscure so far. To some, it is well known, but now that it has been over 110 years as of the date of this telling, its obscurity may grow for new generations. In any case, it is certainly strange. Strange in a way that may warm your heart during the darkest days of the year. But this story, which now seems like a fable, is true, and it goes like this. December 24th, 1914, the Western Front. Months of brutal conflict had turned once hopeful soldiers into weary, battle-hardened survivors. Trenches stretched for miles, with just a few dozen yards separating enemies. Mud, frostbite, and exhaustion defined their daily lives. By now, any notion that the war would end by Christmas was a distant memory. The misery of trench warfare had created a strange connection between the men on the other side. They faced the same bitter cold, the same endless mud, and the same longing for home. But if they shared this silent understanding, they never showed it until this night. As darkness fell on Christmas Eve, an unexpected sound broke the usual silence of the battlefield. From the German lines came singing, "Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht." At first, the British soldiers were stunned. They gripped their weapons, suspicious of a trap. But then, quietly, they responded with their own melody, the First Noel. Eventually, both sides joined, their voices blending in "O Come All Ye Faithful." By morning, something extraordinary began to unfold. In certain sectors, German soldiers emerged from their trenches, hands raised to show they were unarmed. At first, the British hesitated. Then cautiously, they stepped out too. They met in the middle, on the scarred and frozen ground of no man's land. Men who had been mortal enemies just hours before now shook hands. They exchanged gifts, cigarettes, biscuits, even buttons and plum puddings. Miniature Christmas trees sent by the German emperor to boost morale dotted the battlefield. Some soldiers even shared photographs and stories of their families back home. But not every Christmas was so peaceful. The guns never fell silent in some places, and soldiers continued to fight even on Christmas Day. In areas where the truce took hold, it was often led by Saxon troops, known for their affable nature, and British soldiers who adopted an unspoken policy of live and let live. And while reports of soccer games between the two sides have captured imaginations, the evidence remains thin. Letters home spoke of such matches, but historians remain divided. What is certain is that both sides used the lull to retrieve their dead and reinforce their trenches, knowing the fighting would soon resume. The truce was not welcomed by everyone. Some soldiers refused to participate, calling it a betrayal of their cause. Adolf Hitler, then a young dispatch runner, famously criticized the fraternization, declaring, "Such a thing should not happen in wartime. Have you no German sense of honor?" By December 26, the violence resumed. Orders from the High Command ensured there would be no repeat of the truce in future years, and junior officers were warned against encouraging fraternization. Yet, the ceasefire lingered in some areas until New Year's Day. Along much of the Western Front, the war raged on. The truce was an act of defiance not by generals, but by ordinary men. They had seized the opportunity to briefly reclaim their humanity, defying a war that sought to strip it away. For those who experienced it, the truce became a story they carried for the rest of their lives. It stood as proof that even amid unimaginable suffering, peace was possible, if only for a moment. It was a demonstration that in the end, we all want to be happy and free, and that despite the most extreme differences, there are those times we can just come together as one. Please let us know what you think about this event and subscribe for more strange and obscure stories.